Come on.
Paul Box, local celebrity here in Ellis County.
A local celebrity, local something.
Man, let's we always get started with a prayer. So let's do that. You mind if I'll pray for us. Dear Heavenly Father, I just lift you up today. Dear God, I thank you for bringing Paul in here today. Thank you for all the things he's accomplished in your name, dear God. And I just ask you to give both of us the words to say, the message that you want to hear, that you want people to hear. And we ask you to open up those ears of those people that you want to hear. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
So, first of all, everybody starts out with a gift here.
Really?
So here's
You come every time.
Here's a gift for you.
Do I put it now or do I wait?
Please go ahead and open.
I mean, look, if it's not good, it's almost Christmas time. I don't know when this comes out, but I need to gift this man.
Well, you really can't re-gift that one because
yeah, they're gonna need to be named.
It says, you know, you were on the podcast.
Oh, that's cool, man.
So, and actually that does.
That's really cool.
That does. That QR code actually goes to our website. So
I appreciate it. It will be used plenty.
Thank you. So kind of get started off here. Man, you've been friends for quite a while. I think really became friends on
parking.
Parking, yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, working at parking and then actually going into the going to Honduras on a mission trip.
Yeah.
Where I famously saved your life.
Well, you came out of there with an OBGYN as your primary doctor.
I did.
Am I allowed to say that on here?
Absolutely you are. I did see an OBGYN. Jason Brown, Dr. Brown was very, very good to me. Kind of the funny story about that. The first time I cut my leg on a zip line, and that's a different story for a different day. But he sewed me up in Honduras with my leg over a trash can, and because of where it was at, he seen me for about 6 months after that. So, and he was very, 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 very gracious.
I cannot tell you how much I love the story. Jason told me, Dr. Brown told me, saying that he came out into his waiting room, and there was all these ladies and Clyde. And I think that is the greatest thing.
Well, the first time, and he's right. The first time, it was so funny. The first time that I seen him is I went. He says after he sold it up, he says, "Man, I want you to come see me because where it's at, can't get blood to it and everything. And so I want you to come." And he said, the first time I was sitting out there, there's this little couple, probably had the first kid on the way.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Brown stepped outside and says, "Hey, come on back." They stood up. He goes, No, not you, Clyde. Come on back.
God, I'd love to have been there.
So, yes, after that, he scheduled me before everything.
That's disappointing. He should have kept it going in the middle of the day.
No, he was gracious enough. He scheduled me.
I'll talk to him about that. That's disappointing.
Yeah. But on that trip also, we found out with Bonham Huff.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to mention his name, but
yeah.
So we decided that your roommate says, Paul comes and he falls. We come in, we eat lunch. Paul goes and takes a nap, and you had told us, you said, "I can go to sleep anywhere."
I got narcolepsy,
and you could and you could go to sleep anywhere. And so we devised a plan. We was talking about this. We were going to run in while you was in your sleeping bag and jump on you, wrap you up with duct tape. And I'll never forget, Bonham says, "Yes, let's wrap him up with duct tape and take him and throw him in the swimming pool." And I said, "Bonham, he will drown." And
we've just now taken this to death.
Yes. And the funny thing about it is whenever I said, "But he will drown," it was like he was disappointed. Like, it was such a good plan. It would be okay. It would be okay if you did.
You did save my life.
And I will say this.
You're my hero.
Bonham and I ran into that room, and we jumped on top of you, and you fought like a spider monkey on meth. And me and him quickly gave up the fight, and
There may only be 145 pounds here,
but you
but I do all I can to use it.
you did. We give up the fight very, very quickly.
I'm pretty sure if it got serious, I'm out of luck, but at least I held my own. For a few
You held your. We were very, very quickly. We give up the fight. It was not worth the fight for us. So
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you saving me from Bonham. And
his antics, yeah.
yes, 100%.
There's a whole lot more stories over there,
Yes.
so tell me, where you from? Tell about your upbringing. Where'd you come from?
Waxahachie. Officially, I was born in Sulphur Springs. My parents moved to DeSoto, Texas, when I was a couple months old, maybe not even that. And then we lived there a few years. And really, my whole life has been in Waxahachie. We moved to like 216 Buffalo Creek in Indian Hills when I was a few years old. We lived there till I was about 8. Then we moved to Spring Creek Crossing and lived there till I graduated. And my family's here, my brother's here, my mom and dad are here. Waxahachie's home. I moved away and went to school in West Texas at Hardin Simmons University.
Yeah.
Lived in Corsicana 6 years, and then when I was, 2008, so I'd have been about 28 years old, I moved back, and this is home.
Where'd you meet your wife?
Yeah, so she actually grew up with my cousin. My cousin's been my best friend since we were born. He's a few months younger than me, but she grew up in Carrollton, and which is where my cousin is from. They were good friends. He introduced us right after my sophomore year of college and her freshman year. She went to A&M, and so we dated long distance for 3.5 years, and which was really great. A lot of people, wonder about that. It was great. She got to do her college thing and enjoy school, and I got to do mine and enjoy school. But we spent a lot of time together on the weekends, and we got married a week after she graduated.
That's cool. Did you get kind of tired of the whoop and
Well, so she'll get mad at me for saying this, but she's a 2%er. For those Aggies out there, they understand. Like,
I know.
Let's put it this way: she doesn't know A&M has a football game until I say, "Hey, are we going to watch the game?" She's like, "What game?" So she loves A&M. She would be really excited if our girls went to A&M, but she does not whoop as much as the average Aggie.
As the average Aggie.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. So, growing up, what were your first of all, what sports did you? I mean, was you a runner in high school or anything? What did you?
No, I mean, I grew up like most kids. I played soccer, and then around 7th grade, I took up tennis.
Okay.
And I played tennis all the way through high school, and I played tennis all the way through college.
Oh, yeah.
So I played at small school, Hardin Simmons University. I always tell people I was good enough to play at a small school and bad enough to not play at a big school. So I loved it. It gave me, competitive nature in college. It gave me something to do and really focus on. I guess looking at life now, I'm much more of an individual sport kind of guy because of my running now. But I ran as a kid with my dad. We'd go do a turkey trot. My mom, dad, me, and my brother. Truly, Dallas turkey trot from age 3 till 30, 35 years old.
Okay.
Every single year. But we never ran outside of that. Played tennis, played soccer, things like that, and played it all the way through college. And then after college, I kept playing some tennis, but you got to have someone else to play with. And the buddy I was playing with after college moved away, and so I decided to run one day.
So, is that, well, first of all, let's go back. You got married.
Yep.
A year after she graduated. Kids.
A week after she graduated.
I'm sorry. That's
a year and a half after I did.
But a week after she graduated. Yep. Kids?
Kids. We have 2 daughters. They're wonderful.
Sweet girls.
They're sweet girls. So we
thanks to her.
Yeah, thanks to her. Yeah. Hopefully they look like her and they act like her, and we'll be all good.
Yes.
So our oldest is 15 now. So we've been married about to be 23 years. No, wait, golly, 22 years. Look, she doesn't remember it either. We just know we love each other. We've been married a long time. We got married in 2003, so 22 years at the end of this month. Okay. We got married December 27th, 2003. and had our first daughter in 2030. So 7 years in, Kinley. And she's 15 now. She's a freshman at Ovilla Christian School. And then our youngest is Annie. Annie's a sixth grader at Ovilla Christian School. And they're just awesome. They're
Very sweet girls.
Oh man, they're sweet girls. At the same time, they're ninth grade, sixth grade, so they'd be punks every now and then, but
Yeah.
good punks. I mean, they're awesome.
So what, so just, I guess losing your buddy,
Yeah.
that's what spurred you running? It wasn't, I was kind of hoping that you was going to say something like she broke up with you one time in college and you decided just to go out to
Just to
run.
go out for a run.
And you run across the county, then you run across the state.
So here's how it really happened. So yeah, my buddy left Corsicana, and so I didn't have anyone to play tennis with. I woke up, kid you not, it was Thanksgiving Day 2009. I still remember it because it was Thanksgiving Day. It's easy to remember. But I woke up Thanksgiving Day 2009. We just moved back to Waxahachie, and I woke up and I thought, I'm out of shape. Like I feel out of shape, look out of shape. I've never been a big guy. I'm a small guy, but I probably weighed the most I've ever weighed, which is probably only like 7 or 8 more pounds than what I weigh now. I mean, I've never been that big guy, but I was unhealthy and out of shape. And so truly, I just signed up for a marathon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, most people say, well, I'm going to go do a 5K, or maybe I'll start running a little bit. Heck with all that. I signed up for a marathon.
Marathon the first time, huh?
Yeah, so I signed up for the Oklahoma City Marathon, which was going to be in April. So 5-6 months later. But I'm also one that, God, if I sign up for something, I'm going to train.
Yeah.
And so my cousin, the one that introduced me to my wife, my very best friend, he had just run a 3-hour and 30-minute marathon. And so I signed up with the whole intention of running a 3-hour and 29-minute marathon.
Yeah, just to get him a one.
All I have to do is
yeah.
beat him, and life is complete. And
Yeah.
so I signed up and started training. And I'm probably getting ahead here, but I think a lot of people will do a marathon just to do one, to say, okay,
Yeah, I did one.
check
it off, yeah.
check it off the bucket list. And I think a lot of people, when they finish it, they're one of two types of marathoners. They're the type that say, hey, I'm glad I did that, but I don't ever want to do it again. And there's nothing wrong. That's incredible. And then there's the type that are like, man, that was incredible and horrible in a million ways, but incredible, and I can't wait to do the next one. And I'm that guy. Like, I finished it, and I really was excited to sign up for the next one.
So growing up, who was your mentors? Who was your spiritual mentors, and who was the guys that looked up to you who shaped you to be the man you are?
So a lot of people are blessed by the family they grew up with. It's hard for me to think of people that are more blessed than I am. God gave me, I might say he gave me an easy road. I was born and raised, easiest country in the world to be born and raised in. I'm raised by two parents that passionately love Jesus and have served in their church my entire life and still serve today. They are heavily involved in outside programs. So when you ask that question, I mean, the first answer is my mom and my dad.
Yeah.
My dad, it's easy to say him because he's the guy and I'm the guy, and so you aim to be like your dad. The funny thing is, I'm way more like my mom than I am my dad to a lot of extent. And if I could be half the person either one of them are, then I feel like I've done something pretty good in life. And so, the funny thing, my parents still do a thing called SOS, where they serve the community and meet small needs. And my wife and I, a few years ago, started a nonprofit to serve the community and meet small needs. And I think so many things in my life I do because of them. I do the same job today that my dad did, same job my brother does. So, long story short, them. But then also, my youth minister growing up, I think a lot of kids that grow up in church say their youth minister. My youth minister was an incredibly influential guy by the name of Greg Till. Greg helped shape my life. Greg was the kind of guy that would ask me the tough questions and not back down from it. So Greg meant a lot to my young life. And then I know I get rambling, so y'all forgive me.
No,
but
you're fine. That's what this is about.
all right, then I can ramble away.
You ramble away.
I'd say also after my wife and I got married, and we were kids. I was 23, she was 22, and so we were young and dumb. And now we're just maybe she's older and smart, and I'm old and dumb. But we make a good team. That being said, God really placed our church in Corsicana in our life to grow us up and to raise us. And some of our very best friends to this day, it was a couple, and he was the guy I played tennis with until he moved and I moved. But it was a couple in Corsicana that are about, she's a year older than me, his wife, and then he's about 4 or 5 years older than me. But they were light years older than us in maturity and spirituality. And God put them in our life to teach us, to grow us, to mentor us. They had trouble having children, and then we went through a period in our life of having trouble having children. And I mean, God had them there for every step of our early marriage. And so, long answer to say, my parents were hugely influential. My youth minister was, and then as we got married, Jason and Natalie, still to this day, two of our very best friends. God used them to shape us into the people we are.
Cool. Well, that's neat. Of course, I've met Natalie and just, but this last race, she was your social media influencer, and she did such a great job. And she added enough humor to it that it keeps you coming back. So I really enjoyed that.
If she could poke a little fun at me,
she did a little bit.
Absolutely, she's good at it, and I can take it. I mean, look, my wife loves me, but she loves giving me a hard time.
She poked a little bit, but still loved you
just enough. Yeah. She'll say, "I love this man," but some people say, they married over. They outkicked their covers. They married over themselves. I've married so far above myself, it's ridiculous.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Don't tell her.
That's awesome. We won't tell her. She can't listen to this.
She can't. Yeah. I'll turn it down or something. But she's awesome.
But so do the girls run?
So the coolest thing, Annie, my little one. I'll start with her because that's the easy answer. And that easy answer is no. She has zero interest. Now, all right, let me go back for a minute because when I was out of town running this crazy race we'll talk about, she told me, "Dad, I ran 2 miles." And it doesn't make me happy just because she ran. Like, I mean, look, my daughters don't need to run to make me happy. But it makes me happy because it means that I was able to make an influence in her life. But she has no interest in running if she doesn't have to. She does, she does other things. She does cheerleading and volleyball and things like that. She's awesome. And then my oldest one, she's really into cheerleading, but she's done cross country the last 3 years. But she likes cross country okay. I don't know how much more she'll keep doing it, but she loves adventure racing with me. So she ran in Antarctica with me. She ran in Africa with me. She ran a half marathon in Africa. She ran 5 miles in Antarctica. This past July, we signed up for the dumbest race ever. We signed up for a 24-hour race in Fort Worth where you go as far as you can go. Well, at 14 years old, she ran a 50K. She ran 31 miles.
Wow. And
then we get back from this trip I was just on, and she said, "Hey, Dad, I found a race in Bandera, Texas. And, I was thinking about signing up for the 25K, and you signed up for the 50K. I said, "Well, let's do it." So she has gotten into adventuring with me. And it's pretty awesome.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, how many marathons have you run?
I do. I'm keep up with these things, and maybe that's that little, I don't know, pretentious, but it is.
It's awesome.
So marathon and longer, I leave them all into one because I've done a number of ultras and number of marathons, but all together I'm at 75 right now.
Wow.
Yes, wow, it's cool. It's cool for me, right?
Yes.
The beauty of being in this sport is there's a lot of people who've run faster and a lot of people who've run slower. There's a lot of people who've run more marathons and a lot of people who've run less. Like, I know a girl who's the number one in the entire world right now for the most she's run. She's actually out of Dallas area. She's incredible. But she's run like 1,180 or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And she'll run more in the next year and a half than I've run in my life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's just, so that's kind of the beauty of it is you get to know people.
Yeah, she just, yeah.
So,
So whenever you see somebody on the street and they got on the back of their truck, they got what that a
13.1, yeah.
You know, do you,
No, I truly think our sport's unique in the sense of, look, if you've run, I love it. If I see you out running, I don't care if you're running a 13-minute mile or a 5-minute mile.
Yeah.
Runners love runners.
yeah,
We do. And I passionately, I love marathoners just because
yeah, that's what you do.
it's what I do. And there is something about hitting that wall and knowing that someone else who has 26.2 miles behind them, they've hit that wall before too. And you kind of have this kindred spirit of, man, I know what you've been through.
Yeah,
And there's something cool about that. So I love that.
cool. So and your wife, she doesn't.
Now, my wife hates running. Now, okay, let me be careful here. She has done 2 half marathons.
Okay.
So she's no joke, but I'm crazy competitive to a fault. She is the type where if you're like, Natalie, I think you could win this, she's like, she's going to slow down. She's
Yeah.
not competitive, doesn't want to be. She used to do triathlon. She loves swimming, and she's good at it. She's a really good swimmer, and she's an average cyclist. And I'll say it out loud because she would tell you this, but she's a poor runner. Like
Yeah.
that's just not her thing.
Yeah.
I'm a very poor cyclist. I hate it and I'm horrible at it, but I'm a good runner. So no, she doesn't have any interest in running, but she'll
So if y'all can do a relay, you're good.
relay. We're killing it. Absolutely. She'll swim. I'll run. We'll find somebody to do a bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So let's jump right in.
Come on.
This world race.
Yeah.
Tell it. How did you get involved with this? Well, first of all,
Yeah.
what is it?
Mhm.
And then how in the world did you get involved with?
So Great World Race is running 7 marathons in 7 days on all 7 continents. So
Who was the idiot who came up with this?
and yeah, that's a good question right there. But yeah, idiot is the right term. Might be more insanity involved.
Yeah.
But adventurous, insane idiot. Maybe we should go there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Now, I believe Richard Donovan, it's an Irish guy. I believe this was his creation a number of years back. So if you skip back to me, back to like 2017, I was running Boston Marathon back then, and I got to go to a dinner, and they brought in all these elite runners, and they were interviewing these elite runners, and these were elite runners that us as runners, we knew these people.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the best. They win Boston, they win New York, they win these races, and then they brought in this other lady who none of us knew who she was, and I remember them asking her, "Hey, we've heard about what all of these other runners have done, but what have you done?" And she said, "Well, I just finished running 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days." And I immediately thought to myself, I'll never win Boston. I'll never win a big race, but I can do that.
Yeah.
And it just hit home. Like, that's crazy and awesome. So fast forward a few years, in 2020, there was a thing called the World Marathon Challenge. And I found out about it. It's middle of COVID. And I decided, it's middle of COVID. I got nothing else going. I'm going to register and we'll see if that ever happens. And I ended up being accepted into the race. And my wife and I decided that, it's not a smart thing to spend money on, but at the same time, it's an adventure. And this is, I was going to say a once in a lifetime adventure. I'm going to now say twice in a lifetime adventure, but I ended up doing the World Marathon Challenge, which was fantastic. Same exact thing. 7 marathons, 7 continents, 7 days. And that was in 2023, early 2023. And then I guess fast forward to earlier this year, I decided to sign up for the Great World Race, which is a spin-off of the other company, and I don't think they get along with each other, but they're both wonderful organizations, and I got to do the Great World Race, which is the exact same thing. And this time, I didn't mean to do it. As dumb as that may sound, I didn't mean to go run 7 marathons in 7 continents in 7 days. I was actually signing up my daughter and I to go run Antarctica, and I thought that'd be epic.
Yeah.
Having dinner with my dad one day, and she said, "Hey, Papa, why don't you come with us?" And he said, "Okay." So now it's the 3 of us. we're going to go to Antarctica and run. About 2 months before the race, so 2.5 months ago, I get an email from the race director saying, "Hey, some things have fallen apart. We can't do the race like we had planned. I need to scoot y'all's date up a few weeks, and I'm going to put y'all together with the Great World Race so that your Antarctica event is just coinciding with theirs."
Yeah.
So I reached out to the race director of the Great World Race and said, "Look, I'm already going to be there, and I'm already going to be there the next day for Africa. Could I, because we have to fly back to Africa afterwards." I said, "Could I just join y'all for the next 5 races and just pay the difference?" And he said, "Come on." So, so long story short, my dad, my daughter, and I ended up running Africa and Antarctica, and
Okay.
they took off and came back to Waxahachie, and I took off for Australia.
So let's start with Antarctica. I mean, how's that set up? And how, just tell us about that race. That's
Yeah. So okay. So I'm gonna. No, you said start with Antarctica. I'm gonna switch up and say I'll start with Africa, only
Okay, that's
because
fine.
you're supposed to run Antarctica first. We get ready to run Antarctica first. You're going to run on the ice and snow with fresh legs because you're coming into this trained, and it's going to be race number one. Well, about a day before we're supposed to leave for Antarctica, we get notice that we're supposed to have really good weather in Antarctica, which we'll come to in a minute. But we were getting word that a front was coming in, and Antarctica was going to get colder. So we want to run, colder than what you, yeah. So they said, we're going to run Cape Town first, and then there's this window where we can jump over to Antarctica and run Antarctica and jump back. So we run Cape Town, beautiful. It's like 85 degrees, a little warm, but I mean, it's 85 degrees. It's fine.
You're from
And
Texas.
yeah, from Texas, no big deal. And I run a marathon. My dad and my daughter run half marathons. It was awesome. And so truly, about 7 hours after that, we're boarding a plane for Antarctica. We board a plane in Cape Town. It's a 5.5 hour flight. And they did warn us, hey, it's going to be colder than expected. Because at first it was going to be great weather. It was going to be 20 degrees.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. 20 degrees with like 3 to 5 mile per hour winds, which down there,
Oh, yeah.
that's perfect. And really, even as a runner, like I can survive that. That's no problem at all. We get down there, and when we land, it's negative 20 degrees with like 25 mile per hour winds.
No.
Wind chill was negative 35.
No.
It was brutal. I mean, it was brutal.
And y'all ran?
So you get off the plane, so you deboard, and you get off the plane. It's not like they have a terminal. I mean, you just walk down the stairs and you're on ice, and the wind hits you, and you think to yourself, let's start running now because I can't stand. I can't stand out here and just talk about it. But of course, you stand out here and talk about it.
Yeah.
And so they kind of move us about 500 yards over to some like Antarctica tents, like they're permanent, like tent type structures. And you go in and you warm up. And honestly, you go in, so they're like, hey, it's colder than expected. Gear up. So you actually start putting on a little bit more gear. So, like for me, I had 2 pairs of wool socks. I had tights. I had like a tight Under Armour shirt. Then I had on another T-shirt. Then I had like a running jacket. And then I ended up even putting this one on later on because it was still too cold. I had like thin gloves, and then I had skinny gloves. I had a gaiter on my neck. I had a toboggan, glasses. I mean, you're decked out.
Yeah.
And so about an hour, hour and a half after we landed, they take us out to the starting line and say go. And you really are doing, it's a 2.6 mile or 4.2 kilometer loop that you do 10 times to get in 26 miles. Or for my dad, he did it 5 times for half marathon. My daughter was going to do it 5 times. They actually pulled her off the course because her core body temperature was just getting too cold. Yeah. But I mean, you're running on a groomed ice runway.
So it's just.
Well, you run part of it on the runway where the plane lands,
Uh-huh.
and then the rest of it's just a groomed course.
Okay.
They don't want you to get too far away because, I mean, you don't want to get lost in Antarctica.
No, because it's negative 20 degrees.
Yeah, it'd be a bad day. And then also, there's only so much like rest stops they can do. There's not a whole lot of people down in Antarctica to volunteer
To
to
help,
race.
yeah. And your water, it would freeze.
Didn't even have water. So they do, but when they pour it into cups, it freezes. And so you either have to wait for them at the water stop to pour warm water in, but I'm racing. I don't want to wait. So they did have a little bit of hot chocolate. It was really cold chocolate, but it had poured in there hot. So during the whole race, I had 2 sips of hot chocolate and half a cup of Coke. That was it. That was crazy, but it was brutal. It was, but I'll say this: if I had a choice between that temperature versus 20 degrees with 3 mile per hour wind, I would take that temperature because you don't go to Antarctica to run in Minnesota.
Yeah. I can get that. Yeah, you got the effect of Antarctica. Yeah. I can see that.
So I even
didn't do it, but I can see what you mean.
I got they actually stopped me maybe 10 miles into the race. They have a couple of doctors out there, and they stopped me and they said, "Sir, if you don't pull the gator up on your face, we'll pull you off the course." And I was like, "What in the world?" He said, "If I don't pull you off the course, I'm going to end up having to cut your nose off later today because of frostbite." I thought he was joking. I ended up getting frostbite all on my nose and all on my cheek. Now, luckily, they called it frost nip, which I thought was a joke. That's a real thing. Yeah. It was only like 2 layers deep. But, yeah, I mean, it jacked up my face pretty good.
Wow.
So, some good pictures my wife put online, give me a hard time.
But that's, so, yeah, it's cold. It's cold, and it's dangerous. It's dangerously cold. So, your daughter, do they, like, stop and just take her temperature, take you? Or do they?
So there was an Antarctica doctor, and then we had traveling with us for the whole week. We had a high altitude doctor, so both of them understand cold. I don't think they ever checked it. They just looked at her. She's starting to sway on the course.
Okay.
That's never good. And after Africa, we had a meal, and then you get on a plane, and we had like a tuna poke bowl, which it tastes fine, but there's no calories in that.
Yeah.
And if you're running, you need calories. And so I think it came down to, I mean, she weighs nothing soaking wet. So you put her into a situation where she just ran a half marathon. She's got no calories in her, and you put her in negative, 20 to 35 degrees. They just knew, no, she can't do another lap. It'll end bad.
Yeah. That's awesome that they took her off.
It was smart. I think at first she was really excited. Take me off this course. It's horrible. I think, after she warmed up and life got back to normal, she was really disappointed. But then I think so many of the other runners didn't finish the distances they wanted to do. And so many people were just encouraging to be like, how many 15-year-olds run 5 miles in Antarctica or run half a marathon in Africa?
Or go to Antarctica.
Yeah. And so you kind of had to sit her down and be like, look.
That's huge.
Yeah. What you just did is the adventure of a lifetime.
Yeah.
At 15.
Yeah.
Let's celebrate that.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. So you went from Africa to Antarctica. You're supposed to go the other way, but that's where. So where'd you go next? And what's do y'all have like the world race plane?
Yeah. So, okay. On your way to Antarctica, think of it like a 1995 American airline.
Okay.
Okay. So there is some first class up in the front, but most of us are just sitting in coach, but you have like the whole row to yourself.
Okay.
So, you got space, you can lay down, whatever. But you fly from Cape Town to Wolf's Fang, Antarctica. And then you fly Wolf's Fang, Antarctica, actually back to Cape Town. And that's where I said goodbye to my dad, my daughter, actually right on the tarmac. We got off the plane, hugged goodbye, and we took a bus 1 plane over. I don't know why we took the bus. I guess that's an airplane thing. I mean, it wasn't, we just ran, I just run 52 miles. I could walk 100 meters. But we took the bus 100 meters over to the next plane, and we boarded what was our home for the next 5 days. And it was this plane, it's a chartered plane that the rest of us take the rest of the week. Every seat on it was a first class seat and a very nice first class seat. The food, the drink, everything on there is top notch. They even had couches in the back of the plane. I mean, you're sleeping, eating, living on that plane for the next 5 days. So it was a very, very nice plane. And the cool thing about that is the plane's waiting on you. So a lot of people say, well, how in the world could you run 7 marathons on all 7 continents in that time period? Well, it's because the plane's there. Like, we're not waiting on Delta to take off.
Yeah.
Like, the last runner finishes, we go to the airport sometimes you have to wait a certain amount of time. Like in Australia, we had to wait like an extra 10 hours after the last runner finished because the crew needs a certain amount of time
Yeah.
before they can fly again. The, but as a whole, the plane is ready when we're ready.
Yeah.
So yeah, we fly to Australia, which is for us runners, the longer the flight, the better because you don't sleep.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're tired, and we didn't have almost any sleep between Africa and Antarctica. I mean, we ran one at what would have been like 9 in the morning, and the next one at what would have been like 1 the next morning.
Okay.
It was almost like from the finish of one to the start of the next. Most people had like 12 to 14 hours, something like that, with maybe 2 hours of sleep on an uncomfortable plane and very little food. So, I mean, we were really tired after the second one. You get on the Australia flight and you knock out. And I probably slept 9, 10 hours on that plane. And Australia was like a 12-hour flight from Cape Town. But we flew to Perth, Australia. Crazy thing was it was about 120 degrees warmer than it was the day before. So, negative 20 to like 95 degrees.
Wow.
But it was a dry 95. And anything felt good for at least the first 5 miles after.
Yeah.
So you run on this. It was actually the same exact course that I ran last time I did the world race, and so I knew it. All of the courses we run are out and backs or they're small loops because you don't know what time you're going to run, so there's only so many volunteers.
Yeah.
But yeah, Perth was a hot race and. It was awesome. I actually got to finish first in that race, which was really cool.
So you finished first in Australia. What about South Africa? And
finished third in both of those. So the way the Great World Race works is you have one winner for the week, and that winner is whoever can run all 7 races with the lowest combined time. And so after Africa, I'm in third because I finished third. After Antarctica, I actually was in second because of the guy who finished before me in Africa fell back and blah, blah, blah. But I was in second. The guy who was in first is a professional runner. He's won this race 2 times before, the last 2 times. He's fully sponsored by Red Bull. He's fully sponsored by On Running Shoes. I mean, he's a professional athlete. And so the only reason I beat him in Australia is he cramped up real bad. And so he and I were running together for like the first 16 miles. And then I could go through a water stop. And we would sometimes lose each other in the water stops because we were hanging out, like talking a little bit, which was weird because he's so much faster than me. But I wanted to stay up with him in this race. I wanted to push him. I wanted to push myself. So we're running together. And I noticed that right after we came through the water stop, he wasn't there anymore. And I look back, or we hit the next turnaround, and I see that he's like a quarter of a mile behind me. And I kind of joke, and I'm like, "Hey, hurry up!" Yeah, because he's always going to catch me. Like, come on. And we get to the next turnaround, and I realize, I mean, he's falling back. And I later realized, man, he just cramped up, like major cramps. And he ended up, we ran the first 16 miles together, and he ended up finishing almost 2 hours behind me. Which tells you,
really?
I mean, he stopped for like massages, and it jacked him up pretty good.
Yeah.
So I came out of that one, and I finished the race first. I actually ended up leading the overall race after that because I was ahead of him.
So basically it was just a 2-horse race after that with a whole.
Kind of. Okay, so I'll fast forward. I don't have to talk that long about every one, but I finished that when we go to Abu Dhabi next and the United Arab Emirates. And quick part of that story is David is the professional. David had won the previous 2 world races. And last year he had one bad race too and still came back to win it all. Okay. He's just fast, right? So in Abu Dhabi, overall, I'm an hour and a half ahead of him for the first 3 races now. Yeah. And I realize he's going to have to beat me by, 25 minutes or so per race to come out and win the whole thing. And I knew, okay, that's a stretch for him, but it's not impossible. This guy's fast. He's a 2:22 marathoner in his past. I mean, he's very, very, very fast. So
yeah. Let me stop you. What's your fast?
2:48.
Okay.
So I'm what you would call a fast casual runner. Like, I mean, breaking 4 hours is a big goal for people. Breaking 3 hours, you start to say, "Oh man, you're
You're
quick."
right. Yeah.
But I mean, a 2:48 compared to a 2:20
It's a
something,
big, yeah.
it's not even in the same
Yeah.
hemisphere.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's good. So he and I are going to start in Abu Dhabi, and I actually, on purpose, took off. I decided I want him to see that I'm not going to make it easy. Like, he may beat me, but I'm not laying down.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to fight for this. So he actually says some words I won't repeat right now, and yells at me, and "Come on, Paul," and it takes off. And I mean, he's a good buddy. He's
Yeah.
But and so he and I take off, and truly about 5 miles in, he starts pulling away from me. But I'm thinking to myself, all I want to do is get to the half marathon mark and only be a few minutes behind him, be 5 minutes behind him, because again, I want him to see, no, you're going to have to push harder than this to catch me. So that's about what happens. He's probably 4 or 5 minutes ahead of me by the half marathon.
Okay.
And we get to about mile 16, and it's at one of our turnarounds, and I see that he's on the side of the race, and he's sitting there, and he stands up, walks over to me as I'm about to turn around, stops me, gives me a big hug, and says, "It's all yours. I'm out." And loves on me, tells me he loves me, and
That's cool.
he did it the right. He dropped out. A guy like that, he's so much faster than the rest of us. Okay, he had surgery this summer. He came into this not as prepared. He's cramping up. He doesn't need to get re-injured. Quite bluntly, he doesn't need to lose to a guy like me.
Yes.
He's better than me. So it wouldn't look good for him with sponsors, drop out, live to run another day.
Where's he from?
He's from so Miami, lives in Miami. He ran at Colorado, ran at Florida, and has lived in New York City and Miami, but lives down in Miami Beach right now.
Oh, wow. Well,
Yeah.
it's a lot better than Antarctica.
I mean, it's a little better in Antarctica. I love this town, but I mean, it's a little bit better weather than we have here.
It's a lot better weather. Yes.
But a great guy. I mean, it's wonderful of a guy. But it was really, really special to me to have him stop me in the race, tell me he loves me, pass the torch, and cheer me on.
That is cool.
Yeah, really cool.
That is cool.
So he's my biggest fan the rest of the week.
So from
Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi.
We ran in Portugal, a little bit colder, hillier. So I finished first in Australia. I finished first in Abu Dhabi. By that point, I'm about 20 minutes ahead of the second place guy, who's no longer David, but there's another guy from Canada, Pierre. We get to Portugal. I finished second in Portugal, and I finished second in Cartagena, Colombia after that.
Okay. So is that to Pierre?
I know, actually, to a guy named Ryan. Ryan was in. He finished second in Africa, but then he fell apart in Antarctica. And then he was slowly working his way back up. And probably after Portugal, he was maybe an hour behind me. After Cartagena, he's still probably 40 minutes behind me, but he really, really pushed hard in those two races and beat me by a good margin. And so by Miami, which is the last race, I had like a 40 or 45-minute lead on him and Pierre. And I mean, barring my world falls apart, I was going to win. But part of me said, okay, Ryan has 2 victories because he won in Portugal and Cartagena. David Kilgore, the guy who was the professional, he won the first 2 races in Africa and Antarctica. And I had 2 victories in Abu Dhabi in Australia. So I go into Miami, and really I wanted to win Miami because I don't want to win the whole thing but have less victories than one of the other guys. So I pushed hard in Miami. In fact, Mark Miller here in Wasatch, Mark came and ran, I think, 16 of the miles with me. And
Was that pre-planned, or was that just okay?
Yeah. So I mean, when I first signed up for the race, I reached out to him and the other guy I run most with here, Matt Curtis. Matt and I have run together since like 2012. Is one of my very, very best friends. And I asked both of those guys to come see me in Miami, and Matt couldn't. Matt was on family vacation in Ireland, which I guess he figured was more important than me.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
I don't understand that either. His job and his family sometimes gets in the way of my running, and I tell him that.
What's wrong?
What are good friends for? But he couldn't go. Cheered me on, of course, from afar the whole way. And then Mark came and ran 16 miles with me in Miami. That was awesome. It helped me push hard and have my best race of the week on my last race.
Oh, wow. Did you win that one?
I won that one. In fact, won that one by maybe 20 minutes or so.
Oh, wow.
I won that one big. It was a good race. I ran a 3:09 there, which for the seventh race, I mean, I was clipping off some 6:55 and 7-minute miles, which for, my, seventh marathon in
Yeah.
7 days, I felt good about it.
So you've run seven, you've run 7 marathons in 7 days.
Yeah.
How many, have you figured out how many travel miles is it? Do you know?
I wish I'd get it for you because the group that I'm on, our WhatsApp group where everybody talks through all this, I think someone did put on there just pretty recently and said, we ran this many miles, we traveled this many miles, we did this, and so somebody has it on there. It's a lot of miles.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
So you do that. What do you do? I mean,
Yeah.
do you go and what do you eat? I mean, what's the first
after
thing
every
you do?
race, so I'll say this, after every race, I enjoy the beer, and I did all week long.
Okay.
So that's kind of my go-to of, I finished the race, I earned this.
Yes, yeah.
And so I'll have a beer and I'll relax after a race, and it
Okay.
still makes me happy. I enjoy it. For those that don't drink, I hope that doesn't offend anybody, right? But
Hey, we've had a lot worse than this.
yeah. I mean, it is what it is. So so after the race, definitely, actually, there was a guy walking. So we're right by Miami Beach, and there's a hotel right there. Some guy's like delivering drinks, and I was like, "Hey, can I order drinks from you?" So got me a margarita and sat and watched other runners come in. But that night had some really good seafood because we were in Miami Beach.
Oh, yeah.
And had another beer and just enjoyed. So my mom and dad were there.
Okay.
Mark was there, and then my daughter Annie, my youngest, and my wife were there, and just spending time with my family was perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we actually went out to eat with the whole group, and we
Yeah.
did awards and things like that. So that's where I got presented a cool plaque for winning the whole
Yeah.
week, and
So you brought some medals. Can we see them?
yeah. There's a lot, man. So I say there's a lot. Man, God, sound jerky. But they give you one for every race, and then they give you. I have to admit, one of them I still don't know what it was for. So they give you 3 medals in Miami, and one of them, Great World Race, around the world 7 days. And then they give you this one in Miami, which is like, hey, you just finished the whole thing. So I don't know, but it's massive. But so you get that one in Miami, this one in Miami, which I still don't know what it's for, but I appreciate it. And then all the other medals are ones for every individual continent. So like this is a picture of the Asian continent, and
Okay.
it has a dot of where we ran, and cool. I mean, they're really cool.
Yeah.
So Cartagena, Colombia.
Okay.
So you can take any one you want, man.
That's cool.
But yeah, they do the medals are beautiful. They really do them right, and they're a cool thing to have. So
Wow.
yeah. But yeah, man, that's
So that
Antarctica is probably the coolest. Maybe that's the
Yeah.
wrong word for
yeah.
Antarctica,
Yeah.
but Antarctica
Literally, it's the
Yeah.
coolest.
that's
That is.
maybe the favorite medal of all of them, just because how often do you get to run it in
Yeah.
Antarctica?
How often do you get to go to Antarctica?
No, it's special, and I never want to miss and forget the uniqueness and the incredible thing of seeing parts of God's earth that most people, will never ever
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
And I get to see 7 parts of His
Yeah.
earth in a 7-day period.
So you've talked about your faith before.
Yeah.
You've talked about your faith being a very integral part of your life. So how does your faith help you in running, and especially at an event like this?
I'm very careful that my running can look and can't be really selfish, right? So I'm going to spend money to leave my family and go travel the world, or even spend money and go to Boston to run, or New York, or Oklahoma City, or whatever, right? And so I really spend a lot of. It does a number of things for me, and I believe I'm not just justifying my running, but this is really where it means a lot to me. One, it is my community. Mark Miller and I, Matt Curtis and I, Dustin Eddy and I mean Trevor Bodine. I mean these are guys in town that are some of my closest friends, and it's because we share miles together. Men don't spend a lot of time developing relationships with friends, right? We have jobs, we have family, we don't have time,
Yeah.
and we're just not that good at it. But that's time where we can get together and we can tell jokes or we can talk about what God's doing in our life, and we do both.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of both, and we talk politics and we talk everything, and I mean they are somewhat like a life group to me, or
Yes, absolutely.
they're men who speak truth into my life, and I can speak into theirs. So that's one thing. The other one is running marathons. It's not the toughest thing anyone can do in the world, right? But it's tough, and I firmly believe that it has built an endurance in me that's not just an endurance for running; it's an endurance for other parts of my life. Like I think I am a better husband because I'm a runner. I think that, and we all know marriage is hard.
Yes.
Much harder for my wife than
Oh,
for others.
I meant.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's what I meant to say. Yeah, I never
Yeah.
noticed it was hard. That's what I meant to say.
Now it will be. Marriage is hard, and I think that running and enduring makes me better at marriage. It makes me realize that life's hard. Suck it up. Or raising kids, especially teenage daughters.
Yes.
Work doesn't always go everyone's way, and so I believe that God has used running in my life to help me be better at the other areas of my life. And I think I'm a better runner because of those areas. And so I think that they feed into each other. And so I believe staying healthy is good for you and things like that. But really the reason that I do it is it does help me release the energy that I need from competitive nature to the fact that I work and live really close. And so sometimes I just need to decompress but I think endurance is so biblical, and God has a lot to say about perseverance and about, definitely, knowing that you're going to face trials and how are you going to overcome those trials. And God has a lot to say about community, and God has a lot to say about adventuring. Think about, I mean, he put Abraham in one of the greatest adventures ever, and Noah in this adventure. He put the Israelites going throughout the wilderness for 40 years.
Yeah.
And he called Peter to leave his job and say, come follow me. I mean, that had to be a scary adventure.
Absolutely.
So running's an adventure to me. I get to see the world. I get to go hit trails and go do things and meet people. Now I'm rambling, but on this trip, I meet people that are Muslim, and I meet people that are, Hindu, or I meet people that absolutely have zero faith or agnostic, and that to me is an adventure, and I get to, hopefully speak my faith into them in such a way that that I love on them in such a way that they see there's something different about me, and so
yes.
those are all things I get to do just because I get out there and meet new people and visit new places.
One of my favorite quotes is from Tim Tebow. Is we as Christians, as men of faith, we spread the gospel every day, and only sometimes do we use words. And so that's exactly what I see. I hear you describing. I mean, people see that, and they see you the way they know your faith, and they see the way that you act, and they're curious. They become curious of what is that, and I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
it's been, my running, as insane and sometimes dumb as it can be, has provided me a platform to spend time with people and talk to people and share my faith in a way that I'm not always comfortable sharing my faith. When I say, when they say, well, "Why do you do it?" I say, God's given me this opportunity to do it. They say, "Well, tell me more about that."
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of talking running, but quite bluntly, Clyde, I'm afraid of evangelizing. I was a minister in college, and I'm still afraid of it. But I can talk running and talk about my faith all day long.
Yes. Yeah. You all of us are. I mean, that's man, it's the one thing as men, I think we all need to get better at. I mean, I'll talk to anybody. I'll talk to the man at the gas station about well, about the Rangers,
Yeah.
or about the Mavericks, or about the Cowboys,
Mhm.
I'll talk to any of them about that. But
But to say,
but just talk about your Savior. Talk.
as crazy as it is, it's scary.
It is, and but if you have, like you say, that little bit of opening,
Mm-hmm.
you have a little bit of opening, and you can get your. But like I say, you're speaking volumes, with your actions.
With your, just by loving on people that don't have the same political ideas I do,
Yes.
don't have the same religious ideas that I do, and caring for them. It really is cool on this trip because we're so different from different areas of the world, different areas of the country, that people aren't afraid of talking
Yeah,
politics and
yeah,
religion
yeah.
because everyone's so different. And so you really do get to be like, yeah, so what we believe.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and people are intrigued and they're interested. And it is maybe the coolest picture of what I think God intended when he's talking about going into all the world for me.
Yeah.
Right. And not everyone needs to go run all the world, but for me,
Good.
yeah, it's one of those where I really see God giving me the opportunity to do things that are different and a little insane in a way that can at least draw people to me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
I hope.
That's awesome. That's so. You brought a book. You wrote a book.
I did.
Tell us about the book.
So the book is called Endurance, 7 Marathons on 7 Continents, 7 Days. I wrote it I wrote it during my first time doing this. Really, all it is just my journal. So it's my journal entries from a few days before the race started in 2023 till a few days after the race. And I ended up just journaling the whole time that I did it. And I got home and I plugged that journal into my computer and realized, oh, wow, I wrote a lot. And then I had friends just say, man, you really ought to turn that into a book. I'd like to read it. And so all that said, I turned it into a book. It raises money for a charity that my wife and I helped co-found here in Waxahachie a few years back. So every single dollar goes to the charity, and it's an easy read. There's lots of pictures and not big words.
Pictures are good.
Because,
Pictures are good.
and this is not AI. This actually was me.
you.
Yeah, when you read it, you'll be like, yeah, that was definitely not AI.
So let's can we give some of those away?
Yeah, man, I'd be happy to.
So what do you say we I'll have to edit this and it goes out. So what do you say we give 10 books? Is that okay?
Yeah.
10 books to the first 10 people who like and share this on social media.
I'd be honored and very honored if people read my story and share it.
So if people, if they like the social media post and then share it,
Yeah.
the first 10 people we'll get them a book. Now, those of you who do it, you're probably going to have to help us. You're going to have to let us know. Hey, we will keep an eye on it. But if we miss you, don't panic. We will get you taken care of. I promise. And we'll either get it to you or mail it to you. So we'll get that done. So tell us about your charity.
So a number of years back, some friends of ours and my wife and I, we were going to go to South Africa and work with a group called Walk in Love. They meet the practical needs of people that live within 10 minutes of their door. Now, this group was 10 minutes away from the largest AIDS population in the entire world. So they had lots of needs. Well, this was right as COVID hit. And so then we couldn't go South Africa. So we got talking as a group and said, well, why in the world don't we just do the same thing here? So we started Walk in Love, which is to meet the practical needs of people that live within 10 minutes of our door. And that's, we joked about Bonham Huff earlier. I mean, that's guys like Bonham and his brother Brad re-roofing homes for us, which they've done many for us for free. Or it's a number of different things that we've been able to help with. We've been able to help pay for college expenses. We've been able to work with Sims Library recently to bring books to a new building on the east side of Waxahachie where we'll have another like kind of mobile Sims Library.
Yeah.
And we've helped provide food and shelter and clothing and I mean just practical
Yeah.
needs. And I'm drawing a blank sometimes on some of them, but it can be painting a house, building a wheelchair ramp. If it's a practical need, we're trying to meet it.
How can somebody help and or donate?
Yeah, so you can find us on Facebook, Walk in Love Waxahachie, and Venmo to at Walk in Love Waxahachie. If you look up on Venmo, Walk in Love Waxahachie,
You'll find it.
yeah, you'll find us. Or if you go to the Facebook
Mhm.
page, it's going to be on there. And so definitely that's the way to donate. And then how to get involved. Facebook messages on certainly on from the Facebook site. We'll add you to our email list. We have projects that we do. In fact, we're getting ready to do one either later this month. It's holidays. It's kind of a hard time, but definitely in the next month, we have a few things that we need to get done. I was talking to someone today that there's a family that they need an apartment size refrigerator. So sometimes it's as simple as us sending an email to everyone that we have on our list saying, does anyone have one?
Yeah.
Anyone willing to buy one? We'll buy one. Can anyone go install one
Yeah.
for us? I was talking to Ray Graham here in town as a
Yes.
plumber.
Yes.
I called Ray a day or two ago and said, hey, man, we have a plumbing need. He called me back today. He's like, hey, I went and looked at it. It's a big project. Let me see what we can do on it. And
Yeah.
so sometimes it's us just getting in contact with folks that, yeah, I can't plumb for nothing. But
Mhm.
a friend named Ray, who
Who can?
very, very good at building businesses that can do that.
Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
sometimes not what you know is who you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
My wife would tell you, I can change a light bulb. She would probably say I can't. But
Well,
Yeah.
you know, she's the Aggie. You know, there's all the different jokes about how many Aggies.
It's funny.
You know, yeah, it is. But
there's a story there.
hey, where there's smoke, there's fire. There's a lot of Aggie jokes for a reason. You know, I'm probably making a lot of them mad, but my daughter went to A&M.
Mhm.
She got a great education there.
They're in the football playoffs. They're all
in the
happy
football
right
playoffs.
now.
Yes, that they're very, very happy. And so I'm going to I'm just going to leave it there.
Let's say this: if my daughters end up going to A&M, this dad would be okay.
You know what? I don't blame you. And like I say, my daughter, my oldest daughter went to Tarleton State, but
Yeah.
in which great
Fantastic.
school, loved it. Matter of fact, of her and both my son-in-laws all went to Tarleton State, and my youngest daughter, she's the only one that's different. So, and she went to A&M. So, A&M is a great school. It's a great school.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do want to remind everybody. So we've got to tell you about Be Still coming up.
Yeah.
So our next Be Still, Be Still is growing. It is it's getting bigger and bigger. And there's this last one we had 300 men there. No, we had 300 men there. We asked for the first time. We asked, how many people are here for the first time? And over half of them stood up. So we had over half of them were new guys, and every new guy that I talked to said, "Oh man, I can't wait to come back, and I'm going to bring my son, my son-in-law, my brother, my brother-in-law, my dad. They're going." And so we're no mathematicians, so we kind of figured out that hey, we're kind of outgrowing our space, and so this year's going to be this next one's going to be it's January 31st, and everybody can remember our winter event is always between the weekend between the NFC AFC Championship
And the Super Bowl.
We always plan it that way because the Cowboys every year at the beginning of the year they're going to go
To the Super Bowl.
to the Super Bowl at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
By this time,
My wife still thinks they are. She's a big time Cowboy fan, and
it can happen at this point. It could happen.
she's so optimistic, which is great. It's probably the reason we're still married. She has hope, and that's good. But it could happen. Come on.
It could happen. It could happen. But I haven't bought any tickets yet. But it's always that weekend. It's January 31st this time. We're changing it up. We're going to have it at Lakeview Camp on 66. It's going to be in the evening. this is going to be it's going to be a lot different. And we always ask everybody at the retreats, if there's something you don't like, chew on it for a minute, and before you spit, don't get. So this one's going to be, we're calling it Encounter Worship Night, a Be Still Worship Night, and we are going to have. We have a lot of speakers and a little bit of worship. We're going to have a lot of worship. Drew Phillips does our worship, and he's amazing.
Drew is one of my very closest friends.
Oh, and
it's incredible.
And he's bringing a band. It's always been just him. He's bringing a band. It's going to be amazing. I'm not a worship guy. I'll be honest. I'm not a singer. I love worship music and all that. But in my daily life, I'm listening to a podcast, or I'm listening to books. Whenever I say I read a book, the reason why I hadn't read your book is it's not on Audible.
Well, if you call me, I'll read it to you.
We can read it to me. Well, just start leaving me voicemails.
I'll do a chapter a night.
Yeah, but yeah. So I'm really not a music guy. I wish I was, but I'm not. But man, when you have 300 men that are singing together, it truly is powerful. And God love that's God's love language, I guess. He loves for us to sing, and it's not me. He didn't bless me with that, but man, it is awesome to hear and to be part of. And so Drew's going. This is kind of going to be Drew's deal, and it's going to be amazing. As we and this is going to kind of we're changing it up a bit, and God kind of leans on us, and God does speak to us, and He drives us, because we're not. We've gotten away from calling ourselves knuckleheads, but we kind of are.
There's a story, one of my more favorite stories in the Bible. It's where, and somebody who knows their Bible really well may email in and say, well, you got that a little wrong, but just stick with me. All right. So there's a story where David is bringing the Ark of the Covenant home into Jerusalem, and he is in front of the Ark of the Covenant as they're playing music and tambourines and things, and he's dancing and singing to a point where his wife actually tells him later on, you look like a fool. And
which would be me.
Well, yeah, which would be me too, right? But I remember him saying, I will get even more undignified than this for my Lord.
Yeah.
And not that singing is undignified at all. It's just the idea that God loves it when we worship before Him.
Yes, He does. And so we're going to do that. It's going to be powerful. And I think God was like, okay, so y'all have proven that you can do. Y'all have proven you can do the 300. You've proven that you can do. You've proven that you can do a marathon, but you're forced kind of out of your comfort zone. And said, hey, how about 7 of them in 7 days, on 7 different continents? So, and that's us. We're kind of forced out of our comfort zone. And when we was talking about this, man, it was God really laid on our heart for it to be free. Yeah. And so it's always, our events have always been free if you needed it, but we've never turned anyone down. So we've always had a coupon code. We've never turned anybody down at the door. We've always told them, if you can't, just come. And so they've always been free if you needed it to be. But this time it's free, and you can give if you want to. On the page, it's bestilltx.com, and you can register. We've got a new website. We've really kind of, this past year, we've become a 501(c), actually officially, and so we are, we're officially and it's Be Still Ministries, and so people can donate and still get the tax write-off and everything, but we got a new website, and it's not us. It's not just, God has just kind of said, hey, I need more from you guys, because we kind of running out of some personal bank accounts, and Not really. I didn't say that because if there's anybody from the IRS, we didn't really do that. We've done everything by board, but we we uh we didn't do it as and God's kind of like, hey,
Well, it's gotten big enough
yes,
now.
I expect more. I want more from you guys. And so we've become a 501c. We've got our own actual bank account, like big boys.
Yeah.
And, we get like adults. We got our own bank account. We've got a website that we didn't do from GoDaddy. We actually had somebody that do it that knows what
That knows what they're doing.
Yes. So he's asked us to step up, and man, God's building this thing, and it is not us, and it's.
And I'll tell you another one too is, so I remember Paul says in the Bible, and again, I'll tell you exactly where, but he says, follow me as I follow Christ. And I think there are certain people that God has also allowed in my life that I can follow them as they follow Christ. And one of those is Scott Green.
Absolutely.
Scott Green was my boss. He allowed me to work at the Greenery for a couple of years in high school.
Uh-huh.
And that's a man that I will follow him as he follows Christ. And I know that he's been involved in this. And
he's a catalyst.
yeah, I will follow that man. If he says we're going to go over here, I'm already there. Like,
Yeah.
let's go. And
He's, that's where Be Still, that's where the name came from. People don't know. There's 8 of us had went to the Walk to Emmaus, and it is a deal where it's
oh yeah,
3 or 4.
awesome.
It is awesome. It's awesome. But it's also hard for guys to get off. So we said, man, we need to do this, but on us a little bit, a day.
I love it.
And so it is, and we try to do, especially the summer event around to where they can, like the next month or so, they can go to the walk. So, but we just, we need something. So, Scott's story of the house burning down and the one log or the one being left with what said, in his story is just amazing. It's still, it's still my favorite story.
Well, and I mean, you look at the relationship he has with his wife. You look at the relationship he has with his kids. That's not a normal man. And I don't want to lift him up so much here. I'd say that's a man who has allowed God to
Yes.
live through him and to influence other people and to probably get out of the way. Because
No. And when we talked to him, and I was, and Scott or Bruce was like, no, you're going to have to talk to Dad about if we're not going to have you. And so I talked to Scott, and he was like, yes, that's awesome. You've outgrown the 300. We can't hold 3. You've outgrown it. And we're like, are you sure? And he's like, I would love it. He
knowing him, he'll start something else out there.
Well, yes. I mean, and there'll always, and for the people who, as this thing grows, there'll always be a place for that. We'll always have that. But we're, this is growing. It's free. Go to BeStillTX.com and sign up. We're asking everybody to please sign up as soon as we kind of have to start getting counts in, and it's going to be powerful.
January 31st.
January 31st.
I'm in.
You're in?
Yeah.
All right. Mind closing us out?
I would love to.
Please do.
Father God, your goodness is immeasurable.
Amen.
It's just beyond our understanding. You are gracious beyond compare. You love us. Father, when I think about your love, I think about how much I love my daughters, and I know that does not even do it justice. And so I praise you because you're worthy of our praise, and I love you because you first loved me.
Amen.
I thank you, God, for the opportunity I've had to travel. I pray that my story would be encouraging for people to endure, to persevere, and to adventure in this journey that we have of faith. And so, God, guide that story to be used for you. Be with this retreat, this Be Still, the night of worship. I pray that lives would continue to be changed for your glory. We love you. We praise you in your holy name. Amen.
Paul, thank you very much. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, man.
I've considered you friend for a long time, and this was, I was nervous. I was truly nervous. Like I said, this is, I mean, you're a local celebrity, so
What? Whatever.
because of Natalie,
Yes.
you're a low. No one would ever have known this was happening.
Look, my wife is, check her Facebook page out and you will find that she is very good at making fun of me while I run around the world.
Outstanding.
Yeah. Love you, man. Appreciate you.
All right,